Hi and very welcome. My name is Mary. This is my channel Lumi LevelUp and I'm a luxury lover on an average income trying to be more mindful with my money. This is my Paris travel vlog and guess what? I totally forgot to film an intro. So we are going to meet again in our Parisian Airbnb, and since my French is terrible, I'm going to put the name on the screen and will not try to pronounce it. And we go on with some more confessions. Are you one of these people as well that enter a room and they immediately create chaos? Well, I'm that kind of person, and since I didn't film the apartment right away, as soon as we moved in, it was too late to get some good shots. So I'm just taking the ones from the website, but believe me, it looked exactly like that when we arrived. Since space in Paris is rare, yes, it absolutely was a small apartment. We had a bed, we had a table, we had a kitchen niche and a very small bathroom, but it was everything we needed for that little city trip. We stayed 4 days and 3 nights, and since transparency is very important to me, I'm going to tell you the price. It were around €400 for our stay. We booked very spontaneously only about 1.5 weeks before the trip, so I'm very happy we even found a cute little thing to stay at. We didn't cook ourselves, but I think it's great that there would have been the option to do so. What made me fall for this Airbnb and choose it was this patio with a lot of greenery, bamboos, and the possibility to sit outside with little chairs and tables. I think for Paris it's great to have that kind of space and that kind of nature, if you want to say so. So I highly enjoyed this spot of green in the middle of the city, and this is the path to the outside where we go to the city. I'm going to take you along with me a little bit further, and on the right and the left of this path were a lot of apartments that were up to 5 floors, I think. Our apartment was on the 4th floor, so quite some stairs each and every time we got home from exploring the city. There were 2 metro stations close to the Airbnb, Arrêt Métier and République. It took me a little while to figure out how this door works, but finally we were successful and went on our first stroll to the city. Yep, Paris can be loud. The daytime it was the construction site we heard, and at night there was a busy bar right beneath our window. The Cathedral of Notre Dame was in walk distance to our Airbnb, so we checked it out right on our first day, but unfortunately it's not already all built up again after the big fire in 2019. On the day of our arrival, we didn't have a plan. We were just walking around and looking where we would land. And you better believe we had to enter each and every secondhand thrift store that we found. Unfortunately, the prices on most pieces were quite high and the selection wasn't too good, and on top of that, most of these thrift stores had a quite dusty, musty old vintage scent that hit you right when you entered. Nonetheless, of course, when I found this Burberry trench coat for €229, my heart started beating faster and I had to try it on. What do you think about the price, €229? The fit wasn't too bad either. Unfortunately, I didn't want to buy something on the first day right away, and I naively thought we would find that store again. Of course, we didn't. In another thrift store, for a few seconds I thought I hit the jackpot. This bag was on a shelf with everything €25. Do you know the Louis Vuitton vintage Epi Leather Saint-Jacques bag? Well, turns out this isn't one. We kept walking and walking, hopping on and off the metro, and we made it on our first day to see the Louvre. We didn't plan to do so, and we didn't want to go inside that day because we were already quite exhausted, and spending hours in a museum walking even more wasn't what we had planned for our day of arrival. But isn't even the architecture from outside breathtakingly beautiful? I'm struggling for words to describe how this monument makes you feel, because it was out of question that we had to come back on a different day to see the artworks from inside. And please excuse my skills to film architecture really are not the very best. One might think if we are already too tired to walk inside of a museum that we might have been too tired to keep walking around the city of Paris as well. But oh, you don't know my husband. We kept walking and walking and walking and walking. I'm super glad I was wearing my comfy Nike Air sneakers that very first day. A nice bonus you are able to hear in that clip, there were musicians playing live around the Louvre. As mentioned, we kept walking and exploring the Louvre Park, and I finally got some more lazy with the filming, cause seriously at each and every corner you could spot something beautiful that would be worth showing. But as a dog lover, I mean, how could you not take a picture of that statue? Looking back, it was a good choice to do that much walking the very first day, cause it was the coolest of them all. There was some wind, and the following days it just was super hot. We walked our entire way to the Champs-Élysées, where all the luxury boutiques are located, and the first stop I wanted to take was Gallerie la Fayette, which is a luxury department store in case you don't know it. Here you get somewhat of an overview of the different floors they have at the gallery. One area on the first floor especially caught my eye. It had a big sign saying personal seller, and all these items here were pre-loved. I love that Gallerie La Fayette offers this little spot for pre-loved designer items. The prices were, well, not that great. 700 euro for Prada sneakers that already belong to someone else is not necessarily a bargain, but I definitely liked the idea and maybe it's worth checking out when you are in Paris. The Balenciaga Hourglass bag unfortunately was not part of the personal seller area. Very classic Chanel ballet flats cost 790 euro, and I checked out some of the sneakers. I really loved that Gallerie Lafayette does offer Chanel shoes and some cosmetics, because it's way easier to check out the pieces here without an essay standing right next to you and watching every of your steps. These sneakers were 1280 euro. I think on pictures it always looks like as if the Arc de Triomphe is very self-supporting, standing alone, but it is quite close to all the shops of the Champs-Élysées, as you see in this recording. What you might see as well is that even though we are so close to these luxury boutiques, it is way more of a touristy spot, and you do not see as many designer bags on the Parisian streets as I personally would have expected. This area was more crowded with tourists than with luxury lovers. But to be fair, in that recording we were walking straight up to the Arc de Triomphe, which literally is a tourist attraction. The next clip was filmed walking up or down, depending on how you want to see it, the Champs-Élysées on the other side of the street, and there was the huge Dior flagship store. I was tempted to go inside, but I was not that tempted to stand in line, so I decided against it. At the next street corner there is the huge boutique of my favorite designer brand, Louis Vuitton. Look at that building. They had some abstract kind of underwater window display. I'm not sure if it is the same at all Louis Vuitton boutiques at the moment, but I have to admit that it didn't impress me too much for the Parisian flagship store. And I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but the things that were displayed items-wise, well, they didn't hook me too much either. The focus was on the ready-to-wear, and bags were just what they are, accessories, but as a handbag lover I would have loved to see some crazy handbag displays. From the direction we came you were not able to already see the line in front of Louis Vuitton, but trust me, it was there and it was long, and I was not willing to spend my time in Paris waiting in line to get into a boutique. I'm finishing the shots of Louis Vuitton with a picture that actually made me smile quite a lot. This family seems to have bought quite a lot at Louis Vuitton. We continued our endless walking to make it to the Eiffel Tower on our very first day of staying in Paris as well. Of course, this wouldn't be the only time we were in the Eiffel Tower area. It's day 2 of our Paris trip. We are strolling a lot around the city, and now we are going to take a boat trip. This is one of the activities I highly would recommend you to do as well, because it is comfortable and you get a great view of all of the sites that are close to the river Seine. There are different providers, different tours and different price points, so make sure to find the right one for you. A special tip would be to take the boat trip at night when all the buildings are lit up beautifully. Unfortunately, we ourselves didn't think of that and we only took a daytime trip. This clip might give you quite a good impression how hot it was, because I'm sweaty. If you're taking the boat trip on a sunny day, make sure to use sunscreen and maybe even take a hat.
Now facing the Invalid Bridge. This bridge celebrates the victories and the battles of Napoleon III. Devant nous maintenant, bien sûr, le pont des Invalides. Ce pont célèbre les victoires et les guerres de Napoléon III.
Our tour was in English and French.
A bit of history. The Eiffel Tower was built for the centenary of the French Revolution in 1889 by Gustave Eiffel. It's 1,000 feet high and weighs approximately 10,000 tons.
Did you know that the Parisian people didn't like the Eiffel Tower when it just was built? Many critics thought it was ugly and would ruin the skyline of the city. Well, I guess we all know now it became the most famous landmark of Paris. I personally thought it was smaller than I had imagined it to be, but I heard different voices as well from people that were surprised how big it actually is. A little fun fact about real estate prices in Paris: these buildings at the Seine, a square meter in an apartment like this is sold for around 20,000 euro. I don't know the prices in other cities too well, but it sounds like quite a lot to me. A quick Google search showed me it would be 10,000 for a square meter in New York. But I bet it depends a lot on the concrete area as well. On day 2, we as well visited a very fun exhibition at La Villette. It was called the Pop Air Balloon Museum. It showed modern art pieces combined with a very playful twist, as well as quite some picture spots for social media, if you would ask me. The exhibition only runs until the 4th of September. I did take quite some footage. I won't pack all of it in this video because I think it might get too long and maybe not everyone is interested in it because it is not typical for Paris. I will only give you some impressions and you can let me know down in the comments if you want to see more of this exhibition. Then I could edit an entire video because I definitely have enough footage to put out even more. But unfortunately, as already mentioned, it only will last until 4th of September, so chances are not too big that you would be able to visit this museum yourself. The highlight definitely was this interactive installation with a ball pool for young and old. Everyone had to put a hygiene overcoat over their shoes if they wanted to go inside or not, but yet still, I'm not too sure how hygienic this whole thing actually is. But that didn't stop me from jumping into it. On the ceiling there was a light and sound installation as well, but it was not that easy to enjoy it as an art show when you had all these children screaming and having fun in the ball pool. We kept the strategy. Whenever we saw a second-hand shop, we checked it out. This one giving me high hopes from the outside, but unfortunately it turned out Brut, or however you pronounce it, is just for men, and the prices, oof, they were high. The vintage shirts easily came to around 150 euro, but they had a great concept. They put their own tags and labels in all the pieces, and I just found their website. It seems like they do ship internationally, so I'm going to link it down in the description box for you in case you want to check it out. Here I just wanted to share a little casual Parisian street style look with you. Hermès Oran slides and a vintage Chanel classic flap. Which already leads us to Paris at night. This was a tourist hotspot where you can see the Eiffel Tower. I didn't like it too much there because it was very crowded and touristy, and there are definitely much nicer spots where you can have a more romantic moment. As soon as it gets dark, every full hour the Eiffel Tower sparkles for 5 minutes. It was that night that we saw David Dobrik and his friends casually strolling through Paris. A YouTuber with over 18 million subscribers.
Nee, geht nicht. Wir sind schon zu weit weg.
When I asked my husband for a picture and he pretended it would be impossible to get me and the Eiffel Tower in frame, which was very hard for me to believe since I was able to get it in frame myself. So obviously he had to try again until I had at least one beautiful nighttime Paris Eiffel Tower picture. Trust me, I was really humble with pictures that trip. I didn't ask for many, but one with the Eiffel Tower at night was a must for me. I myself got more and more lazy with filming and taking pictures. This is the opera and we're already at day 3, where I actually didn't film that much. Good morning and welcome to day 3. We're on our way to the Rue de Cambon Chanel store. And actually, we are already at Rue de Cambon. So let's see how long the line will be. To my own surprise, there was no line at all. We were already speculating if you were only allowed to enter with an appointment or if the store was closed that day or if we were just too early. But maybe we were just lucky that it was just early enough that there was not already a line waiting to go inside. No line at Chanel, so of course we had to go inside, but unfortunately I didn't film too much because wow, there were so many SAs. I did buy a little something and there will be an unboxing on my channel soon. Let me know if you want to hear more about my thoughts on the Chanel boutique in Paris or if you just want to see the unboxing itself. Our next stop was Gallerie Vivienne because I researched that there would be a little designer secondhand shop, so of course I wanted to go there. And even if you're not into preloved designer stuff yourself, this gallery is really pretty to walk through, so it definitely is a recommendation from me. There it is, La Marais, and even though I myself didn't feel comfortable to film downstairs, they had a first floor. The salespersons were super relaxed, they didn't chase us and follow us upstairs, so I was able to take my time, look around and film some shots for you. These Valentino Rockstud sandal slides were 50% off and came to 150 euro. These Stella McCartney pumps were half the price as well and came to around 125 euro. I absolutely fell for these boots. They were my size, but they still were nearly 300 euro. I didn't know the brand. They were giving me Chanel vibes, and if it would have been Chanel for 300 euro, I definitely would have bought it. These Chloe Zuzanna boots in denim with golden details were around 250 euro. Of course, I did check out some of the garments as well. I did touch some stuff, I did look at quite some stuff, and I spotted the cutest pair of Chanel booties with tweed details. They were 490 euro and luckily not my size, so no temptation. Am I the only one who thinks seeing and touching a vintage Chanel tweed costume is something so special? The blazer was 980 euro and the skirt was around 650. It was not that you had to search in the store for the high-end designer pieces. They literally were everywhere. There was Chanel ready to wear, there was quite some Louis Vuitton ready to wear, and all the other brands you just can imagine. This Diane von Fürstenberg shirt was only 126 euro. Are you interested in some super sexy Manolo Blahnik lace pumps? Well, they were around 300 euro. I couldn't find the price on these Maison Margiela glittery pumps, but it seems like most shoes were around 250 to 300 euro if they were not Chanel. These black YSL pumps for 250 euro support my thesis. If you are willing to spend money on designer ready to wear, I'm sure you could find some great deals here. This checked Louis Vuitton coat was 1,200 euro, which is an enormous saving compared to the regular retail. In walk distance to Gallerie Vivienne is the Palais Royal with its park, leading to a special place that once used to be a insider Paris tip, but I don't think it's that secret and hidden anymore. You will see it in a second as soon as we cross that park. Nearly every travel guide I read or each video I watched on YouTube said that parks are so very typical for Paris and that you should definitely plan some time to just sit in a park, relax and enjoy the Parisian lifestyle. An alternative, of course, would be to do the same same in a cafe or a bistro. Here you see the patio of the Palais Royal. Yet again, it's just one of these spots with amazingly beautiful architecture that you can find in Paris everywhere. In the background, you can already spot the pillars from the artist Daniel Buren. It's 260 of them. They are striped black and white, and the fun twist is that the pillars are all the exact same length but are stuck in the ground at different depths. This is intended to symbolize that you cannot always fully see everything and that things might not be the way they appear. Please don't worry, I'm not being disrespectful towards the artist. This piece of art is meant to be interactive. Talking about art, of course we had to visit the Louvre as well. Even though we booked our tickets online, we still had to wait quite a bit and it was a very hot day. Chilling and waiting for entrance. It might not be very elegant and ladylike to sit down on the floor, but I won't stand in line with 34 degrees. If I want to sit down, I will sit down. When we finally got inside, we spent hours at the Louvre. There's so much you can look at, art from different epochs and areas, and of course the architecture itself inside of the Louvre is amazing as well. To really appreciate everything you can see in that museum, you would need days and weeks. Some of you might know that I did study art history, and I have to admit I didn't use my knowledge a lot since I left university. It was not that easy for me to realize that so much that I used to know and that I did learn at a point in time was not in my head anymore. There were a lot of artworks that I knew once upon a time. I have been able to name the artist, maybe even the year, and now there were quite some artworks where I had a feeling of, wow, I should know the artist, but I really can't remember for sure right now. But I do not even know why I tell you this. It is not the aim of a museum visitor to know each and every piece of art and artist and the history behind it. So don't worry if you know nothing about art. You will go into this museum and you will be amazed by the things you see and the way this building and the artworks inside make you feel. City trips can be tiring. It was already the third day of our Paris trip, and I think you can somewhat see that I was kind of exhausted. We have been walking so much, we have been exploring so much and seeing so much. Here you see the Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci, which probably might be the best known artwork at the Louvre. To me, it's kind of crazy how all these people want to see it, want to take pictures, and it sometimes can feel as if they think that's the only great piece of art in this museum, when that is so not true and there is so much more than the Mona Lisa. I don't know if it is like this each and every time, but when we visited, Italian Renaissance art was the most crowded, and for example the French art was way better to look at and not that crowded and loud. Of course you can't compare the art historical impact of a Leonardo da Vinci to French furniture, but I definitely would recommend to plan some extra time to see more than just Italian Renaissance. After all, when you're at the Louvre, you're in France. Crowds and crowds at the staircase, and I will give you a little impression of the soundscape. And for comparison, how peaceful and quiet the area of Islamic art was. I really enjoyed that lion. It might have been one of my favorite pieces we saw that day because I didn't know that piece of art before, and I just think it's so incredible how far art has come and that this used to be how a lion is represented. We had an amazing time at the Louvre. I do not even know how many hours we stayed. At the end of the day, I definitely couldn't walk anymore. Unfortunately, I didn't film anything at all at Sacré-Cœur, Montmartre. So this already brings us to our last day in Paris, where I wanted to do some more pre-loved vintage designer shopping, and I heard a lot about Thanks God I'm a VIP, so we wanted to check it out. From the outside it looked as if it would be quite a big store, but there was nothing displayed in the windows, and unfortunately I had to realize that they were on their summer break and they would not open until the day we just would have left Paris. I was quite disappointed, but luckily only a few steps later I realized that at least there is another secondhand boutique in the same street. They had the best designer pieces on the ground floor where I didn't feel comfortable to film, but they did have some stairs to the basement where they had some more items, and I at least can show you around here. but the selection was more contemporary brands and or vintage pieces. I did find one jacket that I really liked a lot. It was a lambskin shearling jacket from the Scandinavian Swedish brand Acne Studio, but the price was still 860 euro, which is half of regular retail, but it definitely was way more than what I would have been willing to spend on a preloved jacket. But in case someone would have considered to buy this jacket brand new, of course half of the price might be a good deal. Quite to my own surprise, except the little thing I bought at Chanel, which I'm going to reveal on my channel soon, I didn't shop anything at all during our Paris trip. Guess the trying to be more mindful did work this time. This is already me at the airport waiting for the flight, but if you made it this far, I would recommend you to watch a little bit longer cause I captured an incredible scene at the flight. I'm exhausted but happy. In this recording I had an amazing time and it was way better than I did imagine the trip to be. I did make beautiful memories with my husband for our anniversary trip and I absolutely can say Paris is worth a trip. Our airplane is slowly taking off, or well, it's not slowly, it's quite quick taking off, and we're going to leave Paris in just a few moments. To say it with Audrey Hepburn's words, Paris is always a good idea. Well, at least if you make it back home alive. I managed to film right in the moment when we got into quite some heavy turbulences and I think my look is priceless, but watch yourself.
Madame, monsieur, votre atterrissage est imminent. Veuillez regagner votre siège. Vos bagages à main.
That was my entire Paris vlog. If you made it this far, leave me a baguette or a croissant emoji, because right now I'm having a hard time to imagine that actually anyone will watch this entire video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you next time and bye!